Right, hi and welcome. This is the first in a series of Digital Bytes that I hope to be putting out more and more as time goes on. I've been working in the industry for well over 10 years now, work really quite heavily with a lot of tool providers and just generally doing a lot of search marketing work. So I'm a certified SISTRIX trainer, I'm an ambassador for OnCrawl, and I'm head of marketing innovation at Footprint Digital, and that's my day job. But I tinker with this stuff and effectively kind of play with this tools and softwares for clients and for other parts of research and teaching that I do. So hopefully you'll be able to get something from this and learn from some of the tricks that I've picked up from this time. So let's move on. Let's get going, shall we? So this today, going to be talking about SISTRIX. As I mentioned before, I'm a certified trainer for that. Bit of screen flicker there, lovely. Now, one of the cool things about the job and working on the platform like this for such a long time is I get to learn all of the really cool sort of hints and tips and bits in there that you wouldn't otherwise see, and actually that's going to be the main focus on this. It's just going to be a quick glimpse. It's not going to be a full walkthrough or training session, not like the ones I would give for SISTRIX as part of a day job, but I'm going to look at their lists, list functionality, and really sort of dig into how that can be incredibly useful in certain scenarios, and it's something that people often overlook. Just to give you a bit of an idea what SISTRIX is, SISTRIX is software that specialises in search visibility and establishing how visible websites are in particular. I mean, it does a lot of other things, and I could describe it in many ways, but essentially they have for a number of different territories all over the globe, years of reliable, robust data around what keywords websites have been visible for that duration. Some 10 years being some of the longest data they've captured, which is quite a big deal if you work in this space. The various applications this has: day-to-day management of client accounts, of running your own marketing efforts, or something that I've been using increasingly more and more over the last year or so is actually in a sales kind of scenario. How do you create a strategy for someone quickly based on not a lot of information? And usually SISTRIX is where I go for this. So not going to run into the rest of the tool. There's loads of resources, and their website is the best place to start if you want to dig into that. However, as I said, let's get stuck into lists. So I'm going to make the assumption you've got an account, or you're at least able to log in. If you can't, or you need access, let me know. I'm sure I can hook you up. Lists are one of the sort of hidden features really within it, and I think partially the name, it doesn't sound really that interesting, but bear with me, there's some good stuff in here. So there's a little icon on the top right, produces a drop down. We'll click into it and we'll go into our list view. Now, as you'll see when this loads, I've got a number of lists at the moment, a number of tests that I've added in there and various other elements. There are many ways of creating lists, and there are a couple of different types of lists that you can create. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them because I don't have time, and frankly that I don't think that gives you the most benefit. But what I am going to show you is firstly how to set one up really quickly, and then show you, once you've got that data, what can you actually do with it. And I think there's some really interesting things in there. So first thing you notice when you go via this way and create a new list, you get to choose the type. Now for this we're sticking to keyword, but looking at the other options, you can check for a domain level, host name, file path, and even Instagram, and you can kind of create lists of influencers and bits using a couple of their beta functionality, which is very cool. I'm not going into that now. So to create a list, really simple. Name it. I'll give it test list 2 because it'll tell me off for picking test list, as I've got one of those already. Click save, and what it's going to do is just kind of create that sort of starter point on the list for you. As you can see, we're getting in there. There's nothing on this list. Obviously the main thing it's doing is prompting me to add keyword. The other thing it's prompting me to do, which is start analysis, that I will come to later. So adding the keyword, simple as clicking add keyword, keyword, click add, and it will load. There we go, it's been pumped in there. And what it will do is it drops that keyword into the list view, calculates the average monthly search volume. Just a thing to note with SISTRIX is that's an average monthly search volume sort of spread across the year. So if this was looking at Christmas trees, for example, and you were in April, the volume that it would say you get per month does not reflect what you would get in April. It's just averaged it, which makes it far better for some functions later on, but I digress. Let's leave that for now. Search volume, competition, so i.e. how difficult SISTRIX believes this is to rank for organically, and then the trend, when do people search for this term in the year, and then even down to what the average cost per click is likely. One of the things you'll note, and it's something that I kind of skipped when I created this, you can actually set the keyword country, which data set are we pulling this out of. I work out the UK index mostly because that's where the vast majority of my work is. As you can see, you have all of these choices. Some of these are more mature indexes than others, but SISTRIX only tend to launch them when they're actually usable and they've got enough data in there. So go and dig into that. So you add your keyword in, and realistically, this is good. Creating a list kind of helps you, remember things. It helps you kind of bring together sort of wider pieces of research. However, this is what I thought the ListView was for some time, and it was a bit meh. It's useful as a list, but it's literally just that, a list, which is not going to get anyone excited. Now, this button here that it keeps harassing me with is to start analysis. That's what happens when things start to get interesting. So you click that and it updates and it pulls in search results to start giving us more data. Now I'm going to drop out and go into a different list because we're not going to get any data out of the one keyword. So let's just go back to my main list view. Let me just pick one of these when it loads. We go back in, we can see that this list has quite a bit more data in it. We've got, circa 3,000 terms in this, so a bit more useful. Now, the last time I fetched the list view for this was back in April, but for the purpose of this, that's fresh enough. If you want an update and you want SISTRIX to go and collect the latest data, click the update SERPs and it will pull back the most recent data they have. But as I said, for this, for now, it's fine. Right, first thing then, this menu down the left is where the cool functions and features are here, and it can be incredibly useful. So for the 3,000 keywords, this is now going to show me all of the competition that appeared in that space, which is incredibly useful. When you go in via SISTRIX or SEMrush or Ahrefs or any other kind of visibility tool, they will tell you your competition for the keywords that they see you for currently. So you would input your domain or the domain you want to focus on, then it would pull back the competition that the tool sees within Google, which is great. But if you are a website that doesn't have a lot of visibility, or you want to break into a new market and have new terms that you don't currently rank for, it doesn't give you a good idea of who your competitors actually will be. Now, what the list view is doing, what this is telling me is there's 122 competitors across those 3,000 terms. And what it has then done is it's kind of ranked them by, what is the market share? What is the proportion of people of this website ranking in this space? Number of key terms, but also where they're ranked. Obviously, the more highly you're ranked within that space, the greater your share of that overall market there is. What we see here, the really important stuff, how many of those keywords are ranking within the top 100, and then actually, what are the traffic driving ones within the top 10. So as you can see, really quickly for this particular set of key terms, you can see, which of the websites that I really need to look at should I want to get in this space, and what's the difference between them in terms of visibility. Everything that SISTRIX does, these tables always have a cog that lets you download them, so you can pull the data down to CSV, or this particular view you can download that data too. And then if you really want, you can create a shareable link that you can send the URL to someone and they can look at it within SISTRIX without a login. So all of that stuff's really quite useful, and I stress that to get the most out of this is use many different lists to kind of look at a particular niche or a vertical that you want to target and see, different types of keywords will have different competitors. If you were looking in an e-commerce space and you were looking at a lot of the buy key terms, the terms that people were using to shop, your competitors would look very different to those if you were doing questions, and informational searches. So look at both, because if you're working any kind of search strategy properly, your competition shouldn't just be that point of buying. You really want to map that whole process of the customer's journey and work out, okay, who are my competitors along the way, because fundamentally that'll make you far more effective. So competitor view, whizzing straight through. Next one, SERP features, which is really quite interesting in that what this will then enable us to do is, for those keywords, What are the elements that we see within Google for this? What are the various different kind of extra boxes? This isn't just organic listings. This includes all of the other features, and you can really learn quite a lot from this. Now, actually looking at this data set, this is relatively uninteresting, or dare I say unhelpful, but even that itself, it can be kind of telling. What we can see is, the most common feature that we've seen on these search results pages is AdWords or Google Ads. It just needs to be updated there. But these are results of people effectively paying to advertise on those. And it does suggest commercially interesting key terms, and generally speaking that the user wants to do something with that. So that's useful to know. Then we can see that then 3% of these search features have featured snippets. So they're usually simple answers to questions, which shows that the intent around these searches is more from a knowledge acquisition. And then we can see results of ratings, forums, Google Shopping, image boxes, direct answers, knowledge graphs, etc. So all of these different elements that Google can introduce into search results, that you can actually learn more about. Okay, well, what does Google think the user wants from these keywords? If we were looking at this set and saying, well, actually we're just looking at an organic an SEO campaign, but we find that virtually all of the SERPs have Google Shopping, well, I want to make paid shopping results part of my mix in terms of a marketing perspective. So this high level information is really useful to formulate your marketing strategy. Now, what the really impressive part, or where this comes into its own, is going into a pitching scenario, or trying to build a strategy for someone and you've not worked with them before. If you pick some well targeted keyword lists around the website that you want to rank better, and then look at these SERP features, you can quickly understand what is the intent around these search, and where do you have opportunity to move in. It helps you build a better search campaign, which and also from a getting buy-in from the C-level or executives. They're impressed. You're giving them a market view in a few seconds, and actually you're teaching them something about their space that they might not already know. So just bear that in mind. And again, export options as such are still there. Now, final kind of point of the list in this kind of quick run through is the questions feature, and this is something that can be especially useful in that we all know that Google is starting to understand the questions people ask around a subject, and they give you those in people also ask boxes. And they also give you questions at the bottom of search results. Now, what SISTRIX will do when it goes to look for that list of keywords and it fetches that SERP data, when you click this button up here, it will actually return, well, what are the questions that Google is showing us through this? And for various reasons, this is really, really useful. And I think what I like about it is how quick it is. There are tools that can go and do this at a more comprehensive level. SISTRIX has some of those functions in other parts of the toolbox. But going out, looking at 3,000 keywords, pulling in all of the questions, deduplicating them, and then putting them into a dashboard within a matter of seconds is very, very handy. And what we can see here is these are all of the questions that Google sees linked to that list that we wanted to look at. So you can either push these back through a keyword research process if you really need to know, well, what is the search volume data around those, or actually what I tend to do is let's group some of these questions together. Let's start forming content IDs. Let's enrich the content on our website with the kinds of questions that people are asking to make their experience better. If you're anything like me and you've worked with content teams in the past and people struggle to actually put content on the page, well, take the keywords that they're writing around, run it through this tool, give them a list of questions back that people are searching for. If they're struggling to reach a reasonable word count or to cover a subject in the depth you feel is appropriate, this can give them the extra that they need. So that is the very quick run through of the list functions and features. There does a whole lot more, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with the lists when you're actually in the rest of the toolkit, but this is some really sort of powerful stuff here for not a lot of work. You can also go into SISTRIX's Content Assistant, which is really handy if you want to create content briefs that include the keywords, the questions, and various other bits of information to provide to the content team, or if you're going to write content yourself, it helps you write optimized, well formatted content, and it can even then check the level of duplication or potential plagiarism with the rest of the internet, which is very, very handy. But I'm not going to dig into that now because that is all I've got time for now. But I hope that was useful. As I said, I kind of work with SISTRIX and train with them quite heavily, so I can answer any questions. DMs are open, or drop me a message via my website. But most importantly, go out, experiment, let me know how you get on, and hopefully I'll see you on the next time I do one of these. So thank you.